thank you for the introduction, Ivy. Yes, my name's Harj, Harj Singh. I work for the faculty itself, Lassonde School of Engineering at York University. And as Livy said, I'm a recruitment officer for international students for our faculty. And it's a pleasure to be here to speak to you all. Thank you for sparing some time to listen to us talk. So yeah, so again, thank you for joining us. So this presentation, the actual title is Who Wants to Study Digital Media or Computer Security? On our first slide, you should be able to see that building. That's actually that's called the Bergeron Centre. So that's our kind of flagship building in terms of that's where my office is located. That's where students take some of their classes. It's a state-of-the-art building. I think it was built in 2015, so it's a relatively new building. It's one of the newest buildings on campus. So if you do get to study with us and you do choose to study with us and you're on campus, you can't miss this building. It's just so different to all the other buildings. And then just to go through our agenda. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Toronto, the city, in Canada, York University as a whole, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our faculty itself. So our school within York University, the different programs that we offer. I'm going to share the programs that our faculty offers, but then the focus of this presentation is going to be on digital media and computer security. I will share our admission requirements. I'll talk about our co-op program that the school offers. I'll talk about scholarships that our school specifically offers to international students coming to study with us. I will also share a link to scholarships that the university as a whole offers. I will share some details about where our graduates have gone on to work after completing programs with us. And then finally, I'll share my email address where you can stay in touch, contact us if you have any questions in the future. We will have an opportunity at the end of the presentation. We do have some time set aside where you can answer, where you can ask us questions, and then we will answer those for you. I think the team here will help facilitate those questions and moderate those questions. So we look forward to answering your questions to when we get there. Levy did obviously let you know that we have 2 current students in this information session as well. Dennis, who's midway through his 3rd year of his computer science program, and we have Valeria, who has just completed her 1st year in the computer security program. Dennis also has some experience with the co-op program. So, if you have any specific questions for either Dennis or Valeria, we will get to those at the end as well. So firstly, Toronto. Toronto is the biggest city in Canada, the most diverse city in Canada, have many different cultures of people from different cultures living in Toronto. There's an interesting stat that in Canada itself, the population, 49% of the population is actually born outside of Canada. So, some will say Canada's a country of immigrants to a certain degree. Me, myself, I was born in England, and I moved to Canada myself 7 years ago. So, I'm one of these people that was born outside of Canada and chooses to live in Canada. Just to show the diverse nature of Toronto, There's 180 different languages spoken. So no matter where you are in Toronto, and no matter where you're from, you'll always find a corner of home, something that will remind you of home. So that's something interesting about Toronto. In 2019, Toronto was voted the safest city in North America. That was from The Economist in 3 years ago. So that's a fun fact as well. Now, about our school itself, York University, we have at the moment we have two campuses. We have Glendon campus, which is our campus which offers programs in French. And then we have the main campus, Keele campus. This is a large campus, about, I would say, 20 kilometers outside downtown Toronto, connected to the subway. It's a large space. Keele campus is where you would be if you was in one of our programs. So if you were studying digital media, computer security, or engineering, or any other program, Keele campus is where you would be. And we have a third campus that's scheduled to open in 2023, Markham campus. That would be about 10-15 kilometers away, maybe, yeah, about 15-20 kilometers away from Keele campus. And that's just because the university is growing and we need more space. So, the Marcus campus is in the works, and our faculty will be offering programs from that campus in addition to Keele campus. So I just wanted to share that with you as well. And then I'm going to share some interesting numbers from York University. So about the three campuses. What you see in this image in the background is the subway station. So the subway station connects you to downtown Toronto. So the subway comes directly onto Keele campus. At our university, we have approximately 55,000 students. So it's a very large university. So currently we're the second or third biggest university in Canada by student population. And we have students joining us from over 155 countries. So a very diverse place to study. Across the university, we offer over 200 different academic programs. We have 11 faculties. Lassonde School of Engineering is one of those faculties, and that's the faculty that I work for. And we're going to talk about the programs that we offer. So what this means, 12,000 plus first generation university students. So we have approximately 12,000 students who are the first people in their family to go to university. So that's something that we're proud of. So, we're a university that's chosen by families for the first time in many cases. We award over $48 million in scholarships. And we will touch on scholarships later in the presentation. We have the faculty itself has scholarships that we distribute, and then York University also has scholarships as well that the whole of the all students can apply to. We have approximately 350 alumni graduates that are working across the world. So our graduates don't just work in Canada. Our degrees and our programs are such that students do tend to work in different places all over the world. So that's a little bit about York University itself. Now I'm going to talk about Lassonde School of Engineering. So this is the faculty that I work for. This is a faculty that Dennis studies with, and Valeria, and it's one of the 11 faculties that York University has. So the faculty is called Lassonde School of Engineering, but we're a lot more than just an engineering school. We offer other programs aside from engineering. We're a growing engineering school. We have roughly at the moment around 5,000 students that study in the Lassonde School of Engineering. And these students are in engineering programs, computer science, or computer security, or digital media, and earth and atmospheric science. So we have those are our programs. The size of our faculty is small compared to other engineering schools or computer science schools in the province. What that means is that we're able to offer smaller class sizes than some of the other universities, or universities in the area in the province. But because we're second, third biggest school overall in Canada, you get the advantage of big university resources, but belonging to a smaller faculty where you get more of a personal experience with your professors, your tutors, and there's more sense of community when you belong to a smaller faculty. Our school has an ethos, our faculty has an ethos that we value collaboration over competition. So we prefer our students to work on things and learn together as opposed to competing against each other. And one of our teaching methodologies is that we encourage students learn by doing. So we don't just have professors sitting at the front of the classroom and talking to you for 1, 2, 3 hours. The professors encourage, and the teaching assistants encourage actually learning by doing. So you'll learn a little bit about theory, and then you will put what you learned into practice. And that's where our state-of-the-art classrooms and labs come into place. So what you learn in the classroom, you then kind of put into practice in tutorials and labs. And we have various of labs that students can use in the building that I shared earlier. So now that's a little bit about our school and our faculty. Now I'm going to touch on the programs that we offer. So as I mentioned, our faculty is home to our engineering program, and we have 6 different engineering programs: civil engineering, computer engineering, electrical, mechanical, software, and space. We also offer computer science, but what we're here today to talk about is our computer security program and digital media program. They're the 2 programs that we're going to focus on. We also offer earth and atmospheric science. So if anybody's interested in the environment or the weather and understanding that kind of stuff, then that's an interesting program as well. We offer a certificate in meteorology, which again is linked to weather. But as I say, today we're going to focus on computer security and digital media. And just before we move on to the next slide, I just want to share that our computer science program, our computer security program, and our computing programs in engineering, which are computer, electrical, and software, does have some crossover. So in your first year of these programs, a lot of students will be taking the same, if not similar, courses before you start kind of in your second and third year start specializing in the program that you have chosen. So if you do choose to study digital media, computer security with us in your first year and a little bit of your second year, you will be taking courses with engineering students, computer science students, because there's a lot of crossover and a lot of the courses are very the same in the first year or so. So that's something cool about our school, is that you get to take courses with students in a wide range of programs. So I just wanted to touch on the admission requirements for computer security and digital media. So I understand that you could be on different kind of high school curriculums. So I'm going to share admission requirements for students who are studying on IB, GCE A levels, and the high school diploma, which is SMA, SMU. So for computer security, we offer a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Science in computer security. Essentially, the difference between the two kind of streams is the computer security knowledge that you learn in both the programs will be the same. It's the way you complement your studies in general education courses or electives will differ. If you took the BA stream, then the way you complement your computer security knowledge would be from courses from the liberal arts, so like humanities, sociology, those kind of courses. If you were pursuing the BSc in computer security, then again, your computer security knowledge would be the same, but the way you would complement your studies would be by taking courses from the sciences, which could be physics, chemistry, and biology. And because the sciences, you would take sciences in the BSc, the admission requirements vary slightly. So for the BSc, students would need to have either physics or chemistry, or have studied physics or chemistry as part of their high school. If you were just pursuing the BA, then you would only need math as a prerequisite and completion of the diploma. So the BSc, you would need math and physics or chem. Now for A level, it's the same, math for the BA, math, physics, or chemistry, and the same for IB. I've shared for IB, there's different math courses that you could take. So I've shared the 3 courses that we would accept. And if you wanted the BSc, then again, you would have to take physics or chemistry as part of your high school as well. I've also shared the average required for BA, BSc in computer security. For GCE, we would look for an overall average of B in the IB, an overall average of a score of at least 30. And if you study in the high school diploma, I believe we'd be looking for a overall GPA of at least 85%. So that's the admission requirements for computer security. For digital media, again, if you're completing the high school diploma, all we require is the completion of the diploma plus you need to have studied maths in high school, and some arts training is recommended, not required, but very, very much recommended. If you're studying A levels, then the overall average required is C, and again, we require math. If you're on the IB curriculum, overall average we require 28. And again, you would need to have math. Please ignore the physics or chemistry requirement for digital media. That's a mistake. I shouldn't have that there. So you don't need physics or chemistry for digital media. So ignore the last line there. We'll delete that moving forward. So those are the admission requirements. Now we're going to start talking about the programs themselves. So digital media is a unique program that isn't commonly available at universities. So a digital media student, as a digital media student, you will devise and use tools to create engaging interactive digital objects and experiences that integrate imagery and sound. This includes effects and animation, 3D modeling, and simulation and responsive interfaces. And basically what this kind of boils down to is if you're interested in mobile apps, game development, or interested in kind of film development where the use of visual arts is used, then this is kind of a program that may be of interest. We have, within digital media, we have 3 different streams that students can kind of specialize in. So digital media itself, we have the 3 streams that we have. Students can specialize in digital media development, which focuses, let me see if I have a slide for this. 1 second. No. So yeah, so the first stream is digital media development, which focuses on design of core tools and technology supporting digital media practices. The second stream we offer is digital media arts. So this focuses on the creation and application of digital media for creative production in the visual, performing and screen art. So if you're interested in, working in the film industry, for example, and you want to work on animated films and that kind of thing, then that's the stream that you would pursue. The third stream we offer is digital media game arts. So this stream focuses on allied artistic and scientific aspects of innovative game design. So if you're interested in, in developing games, then that's the stream that you would pursue. We offer courses in a range of subjects. For example, virtual reality, user interfaces, graphics, and games and animation in that stream. If you are a digital media student, we do offer internship to students as well. So after you've completed 3 years of study, you can go out to industry, co-op internship. You can gain some work experience and put what you've learned in the classroom into practice. I broke down what your first year would look like as a digital media student. So as a digital media student, you would take computing courses in your first year. So you would learn coding, and some of the languages you would learn in your first year would be Java, HTML, JavaScript. Just a note on coding, Lassonde School of Engineering doesn't assume that students have any prior coding experience. So when you join us as a student, be it in computer security, digital media, engineering, whichever program it may be, we always teach from the ground up when it comes to coding. Great if you have some experience of coding, but it's not necessary at all. So we will teach students from the very beginning on the principles of coding. So don't worry about that. There will be some math courses in your first year as well, hence the math requirement in the admission requirements. So you would take courses in applied linear algebra. There's a course called discrete math, which computer science, computer security students take as well. And that's a course that Dennis has taken and Dennis loves talking about. So when we get to the Q&A section, do ask Dennis about discrete math and what that entails, because it has an interesting, discrete math in itself is an interesting title. So alongside your computing courses and math courses, you'll of course take digital media courses, and then you'll also take courses from either arts, media, performance or design, and you can choose courses from dance, theatre, film or music, and you can choose courses as per where your interests lie. So if you do want to go on to work in the film industry in terms of animated films, or then you could take courses from film. I have also included some notable upper year courses that you could take, and these will depend on which stream of the digital media you ultimately end up taking. Remember, the first 18 months of digital media is essentially the same. It's only after that you start taking specialist courses as per your stream. So some of the courses you could take are 3D computer graphics, data structures, introduction to virtual reality, game development, mobile user interfaces. And again, I've included the type of careers digital media graduates could go into. So you could, as a digital media graduate, you could become a game developer, you could become a virtual reality developer, you could become a digital marketing developer, social media manager, digital media strategist. So there's a lot of different careers that you could undertake as a digital media student. But again, a lot of that will be dictated by which stream you follow or you specialize in. So that's kind of a whistle-top tour of digital media. But we can get into more detail when you ask us questions when we get to the end of the presentation. I'm going to move on to the second program that we wish to focus on today, and that program is computer security, which comes in the form of a BA or BSc. Just want to share that computer security and computer science programs, I'd like to describe them as brother and sister in terms of the two programs, because there's a lot of overlap between computer science and computer security. In fact, the first year, maybe 18 months of computer science, computer security is the same. So you'd effectively, computer science, computer security students would essentially take the same courses in the first year, maybe 18 months of the program. After that, students in computer security start specializing in computer security, cyber security in a sense. And in our program, students will learn all about protecting networks and wireless devices from which could be large computer databases used in banking, government, or corporations, to the smallest devices like home appliances and cameras. So it is considered an area of computer science where you will learn to study threats to computer systems and networks and develop the science and practice of how to mitigate them. It's a very important field right now, with what's going on in the world at the moment. Security and is of utmost importance. Countries, governments, individuals are trying to hack countries, companies all the time. So it's a very important field, it's a growing field, lot to learn. So anybody in this program who graduates from computer security would be in a good position when it comes to carving out a career in cybersecurity. So there's a lot to learn, and as I said, Valeria has completed her first year in computer security. So if anybody has any specific questions about the program, then save them for our Q&A, and we can get to those questions. Co-op is an option in computer security, so anybody who is interested in working and putting their knowledge into practice when they're studying with us, that option is available in this program. I mentioned earlier that the program comes as a BA or BSc. The only difference between the two programs is what courses you take to complement your computer science and computer security knowledge. Similar to digital media, I broke down the courses that you would take in your first year. So again, there's a mix of computing courses, which will include programming and coding. There's math courses as well. Students in this program will also take discrete math. So that's a course that digital media students take as well. And then if you are in the BSc, you will also take courses from physics, chemistry, or biology, and you can choose which of the science courses you wish to take. And some of the upper year courses that we have in computer security are computer security management, mobile app development, computer security management and forensics, communication networks. So the focus is really on cybersecurity and how to keep systems safe and guard against cyber attacks. Students who graduate from this program can typically work as network security professionals, in computer forensics, as a computing security analyst, cloud computing security analyst. So you can see the nature of the jobs or the careers that students can go into is all about protecting data, keeping information safe, and keeping information and data safe in turn keeps people safe, countries safe. So very interesting field and a growing field, and a field where there is currently a lot of interest worldwide. So that's the computer security program. So that's the focus and the light I wanted to shine on both digital media and computer security program. I'm going to now move on to our co-op program. I will introduce the co-op program, then I'll ask Dennis, if it's okay with you, Dennis, just to talk for a few minutes about your experience of the co-op program, any tips you have about securing a co-op program, feel free to share. But before I pass it over to you, Dennis, I'll just short talk about the program generically. So co-op or internship is optional at Lassonde, and it's available in all the programs that we offer. Co-op is not mandatory, so it's a choice. It's not something you apply for as part of your admission to our school. Co-op or internship is something you apply for once you're here. Co-op students would apply for in their second year of their program. So we work with students once they're here. We have a specialist co-op team that would work with students in terms of assessing eligibility for the program, and then a co-op team would work with students in terms of helping with resume, interview techniques, help secure a job, co-op position, sorry. Securing co-op is a competitive process, so it's very much like applying for a job and going through that process where you're competing for a particular co-op position with other students. So although the support is there from the school, where we will support you in finding a co-op position, there is an emphasis on yourself as well. You would need to put the effort in to secure a co-op position. The minimum amount of time students can spend on or will need to spend on co-op is 12 months, and you normally do the 12-month co-ops over 2 or 3 work terms. So you wouldn't do 12 months in one go. It would break down in smaller chunks, 2 to 3 terms. So after one co-op term, you would come back to school, do an academic term, then potentially go back and do a second co-op term. So you have to break up your co-op terms by an academic term. We have a great network of employers that we work with. I've shared some companies on this slide where our students have obtained co-op terms. IBM is a big employer of our students. I think we had 35 students over the last 12 months that have been on co-op to IBM alone. We've had students doing co-op at Uber, Tesla, Honda, Canadian Space Agency, CIBC, which is one of the biggest banks in Canada, is our biggest employer right now. We had 40 students study at CIBC over the 12 months in various positions. So we do have good relationships with big employers, but we also have good relationships with lesser known employers, so startups, medium-sized companies. And sometimes students can get lost in the thought of, I want to secure a co-op, a company like Uber, Tesla, like a big company, but often securing co-op at a smaller company, a startup, or a mid-sized company is more beneficial because you might be given more responsibility, and you're able to learn more, and be given more freedom at a smaller company. So it's always worth bearing that in mind when you're looking for co-op. Don't necessarily think, oh, I want to work for a huge company, because there might be restrictions that come with that, whereas with a smaller company you might learn more and have more responsibility. Just to share some data on our co-op program, we're one of a very few number of schools that offer one-on-one advising sessions. So when students are looking for co-op, you will get to sit with somebody from the co-op team on a one-to-one basis, where they can guide you and help you secure a co-op position. We have an 80% success rate. So students who apply to co-op and put the effort in and are serious about securing co-op, around 80% of students manage to secure a co-op term. The average salary that students earn when on co-op, so all our co-op positions are paid, so nobody works voluntarily, nobody works for free. On average, you would earn $23 to $24 per hour. That's probably the second highest co-op program in Ontario. And we offer co-op experiences internationally, and as well as outside the GTA, which is the Greater Toronto area. So you're not just restricted to doing co-op in Toronto. There are opportunities to work overseas and outside the province itself. Dennis, do you mind just talking a couple of minutes about your co-op experience?
Yeah, definitely. So I think first thing to mention, when I did my first co-op, or when I was applying, that was in January of 2021. So it wasn't this winter, it was last winter when I first started applying. And then the company that I ended up getting hired at is a company called Decisive Edge. They're a small consulting company. They have offices in Canada and the US and in India. I actually got a little bit lucky because with Decisive Edge, they actually happen to only hire only Lassonde students, or only students from York University. So they were not taking any other students from any other universities. So that surely made it easier for me to get hired because there was a lot less competition. And then when I applied, also, Harj mentioned that they have one-on-one sessions. I ended up doing a mock interview with one of the co-op advisors. I felt like that just helped me just to get kind of better prepared and to get an idea of what interviews would be like, because that was going to be my first real technical interview. So then they liked me after the interview and I got hired. And so I had my first co-op in the summer of 2021, which was from May to August, where I worked as a software developer. So basically, the company creates different kinds of softwares. And so I was placed on one of those projects to work on different bugs. So maybe something was broken in the software or something wasn't working. So then I would be tasked with fixing that. Or perhaps they wanted like a new feature. So they wanted to add, for example, a certain kind of animation, or they wanted to add a new kind of module where you could do certain things. So I would be working on that. That was really cool for me just because I got to learn about like different technologies that I didn't learn about in school necessarily. I also got to see how things actually work in the industry. When you're in university, you can work on different kinds of projects, and you can learn about this kind of programming language or this kind of concept or this kind of math, but you don't actually see how it is in the real world. And then in the real world, you see that in reality, it's not just they just give you work to do, you do it and that's it. There's a lot that goes beforehand. They have to figure out what kind of work needs to be done, what needs to be accomplished. Like how do you write it up so everybody actually understands what needs to be done? Because for example, if you're in tech, but somebody else isn't in tech and everybody needs to understand what needs to be done, you have to write it a certain way. And then after you finish coding whatever you need to code, it has to be tested, and it has to be tested in different ways. So there's a lot that goes on, and I feel like just doing co-op, you actually get an idea of what it's like in the real world. So and then after that, I went back to school in the fall. And then I did another internship or another co-op. Sorry, by the way, if I say co-op or internship, it's effectively the same thing. You're still doing the same work, it just named different. But I did another co-op last winter. So this was January to April of 2022 at the same company where I worked as an ETL developer, which is basically a fancy way of just saying that I worked with data. So we would move data from a source to destination. So I got to learn a lot about databases. I actually hadn't taken a database course at all. And so I felt like I learned almost as much or maybe even more than I would have from just taking a university course. And then I also just got to learn about a bunch of things that I wouldn't have learned in school. And then I'm continuing in the summer now. I'm doing the same work as an ETL developer. I feel like a couple good things with co-op or internships is that you do get to figure out what you want to do, because when I started university, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I like computer science, and I started and I thought, okay, this seems cool, but exactly what I wanted to do, I still wasn't sure. So getting to do co-op or internship and actually doing your job in the industry, you actually get to see what it's like. And best of all, even if you don't like it, well, then you know, okay, well, now you know that you don't want to do that after graduation. So now you know that you can try and focus on something else. Or maybe you can learn, okay, well, I did like this, but I did not like this. So I'm going to try to find a position that has more of this kind of stuff. Or maybe I'm good at this, but I'm not good at that. So I feel like everybody should try co-op at least for 1 or 2 terms just to see what it's like and just to get that experience. Because once you get that co-op experience, it makes it that much easier to get full-time experience once you graduate. And that is a very helpful thing too, especially when you're going into the job market. It is very hard to find your first position, so having co-op experience is helpful. And now Harj also mentioned what's it like trying to find your first co-op position too. And I won't lie, it's not the easiest thing to do. And kind of everybody has to go through this issue of you don't have experience, so you can't find the job. You can't find the job because you don't have experience, and it's just this very painful cycle. There are a lot of things that you could do to help break that though. Just because you don't have prior work experience, perhaps you have volunteer experience, or maybe you have projects. With something like computer security or digital media, the great thing about it is that all you really need to create a project is your computer, or maybe a notebook and a pencil. So that way you can come up with your own projects. That way it shows what you're able to do. It also shows that you're interested in it and that you're not just taking the courses just because you feel like you have to, but it shows that you're actually interested in it to want to do something outside of your classes, to do something just for fun. So that can help. You can also work at clubs. Lassonde has a lot of different clubs that we didn't really go over, but there are a bunch of different clubs that you can work at. Some are more technical, some are less technical, but you can apply to work at clubs, and then you can help run events, help run workshops. That also shows your knowledge and what you've learned, and that also shows that you're able to actually speak and communicate the knowledge that you have, which is also a very useful thing in the job market. One common thing too is that with like engineers and computer scientists and people that are in technology is that they don't have great communication skills. And communication is very important because if you're dealing with an issue, you're dealing with a problem, then you should be able to explain that to somebody else that's not familiar with it. And a common issue is that not everybody has those communication skills. So by working at a club or maybe doing a project and being able to explain what you did, that also shows your communication skills, which I feel like are undervalued, and everybody kind of focuses on the technical part, but I feel like that is also very useful. So just being able to do things outside of your classes. You can also talk about your past experience too. So even if you didn't work at a co-op as a software developer, maybe you just worked at a restaurant, or maybe you worked at like a clothing store, for example. That can still be really useful because you're still talking to people, you're still communicating with them, you're still trying to help them. So that still has its own experiences. Even though it's not technical, it still shows your soft skills. And it kind of helps you, it kind of demonstrates your past experiences, even though it's not necessarily technical. And then the last tip that I would give, which I find is very helpful, but almost nobody actually does this, is So a lot of jobs, a lot of companies hold these things. They're called recruitment events or like recruitment sessions. And basically what they are, it's a session that's organized either by the company itself or by a school. So Lassonde also organizes some of these, where they have like a hiring manager or a recruiter show up to the school, or maybe it's held virtually. And then they just talk about the company, they talk about the different positions, they talk about what the company culture is like and all these different things. That's actually a great way for you to actually go and talk to this person and introduce yourselves. Because when you go and do that, that way you have a few things. So first of all, you can learn about the company and you can learn about these different things. But more importantly, you can learn about how you can make your resume better, what you should focus on, what do they look for when they're hiring people, because different companies focus on different things. So you can show off different things. And then most importantly is that when you actually go and talk to somebody in person, you're showing that you're a human being. An issue when you apply for jobs is that when you give in your resume, it's basically just a piece of paper that says, you know, I worked here, I took these courses, but everybody's going to have that. But obviously you are your own person, you have a personality, you have interests, you have likes and dislikes, and so you want to be able to show that. So by going to recruitment sessions or recruitment events, and by talking to like hiring managers or recruiters, you can actually show yourself, show your personality, who you are. That's actually how I ended up getting my first position. I went to a recruitment event and I just talked to the recruiter and I just asked them a few questions about the company, and I told them what I'm interested in, and they seemed to like me and my personality. And so they ended up inviting me on for an interview, and then I ended up getting the job. And the funniest thing is that they said that they had looked at my resume, and if they had only looked at my resume, then they probably would not have taken me because I didn't have any prior work experience. But because I actually went and I talked to the recruiter, and I talked about what I'm interested in, and I talked about just myself, and I asked about the company, that way they got to see what it would be like to work with me. They got to see what I'm like. And so that way they got a better idea of who I am. And so I was more than just my resume. I was more than just Dennis, computer science student. And so I feel like that's a really useful thing that not a lot of people do. And I've been rambling on for a few minutes. I'm going to let Harj, take the stage back. But those are just some very key things that I found useful.
Thanks, Dennis. That was a very comprehensive overview. And just to finish off on the co-op topic, students who undertake co-op are often recruited by the employer full-time once they've completed their program with Lassonde. So it is something that, if you get a good co-op, do well, could lead to a job offer upon graduation. And I'm pretty sure that the company that Dennis is has co-op with eager for him to graduate, so they can hire him. But yeah, let's see how that plays out. But I'm pretty sure that Dennis would probably get an offer from that employer. Okay, so moving on to coming to the end of the presentation now. So I just wanted to share, we talked about in the beginning of the presentation that York has roughly 350,000 graduates working all over the world. I just wanted to share some graduates from Lassonde School of Engineering. These are actual people, real names, and I just wanted to share the kind of companies they've gone on to work for. So we have a lot of our students have graduated and gone off to work for Amazon. We've had our students work at the European Space Agency, Microsoft, Tesla, Canadian Space Agency, Apple, the Weather Network, Coinbase. So just wanted to share, because this slide I feel is quite powerful in terms of the companies that are on here. It shows are interested in our students, in our graduates. Yeah, so just something I wanted to share, just to put some kind of context in terms of where can our students go and work once they've graduated. Now, So we're getting to the end of the presentation. So I just wanted to touch on scholarships. The two first scholarships that I mentioned, Lassonde entrance scholarship is a one-off $2,000. Students will get assessed automatically as part of their admission process. So when you apply to our school for admission, depending on your GPA, we may offer you a $2,000 one-off entrance scholarship. We also offer the Lassonde scholarship, which is worth $60,000 over 4 years. We have 15 of these scholarships available each year. This scholarship is not something the students apply for at admission. Students would have to be admitted, choose our school, and then students can apply in September of each year, and then we would choose up to 15 students to receive 15,000, which is renewable every year depending on your GPA. So those are Lassonde specific. Dennis, do you mind sharing the link to the York University scholarships? Do you mind putting that into the chat?
Yeah, I already did that.
Oh, thank you, Dennis. So that link that Dennis has shared takes you to the York University scholarships that are available. So they're not specific to just Lassonde students. So any York student can apply to those. And I just wanted to draw your attention to a couple of the bigger scholarships. So we have 20 President's International Scholarship of Excellence Awards, which we have 20 of those awards, and that's $45,000 a year. We have 15 Tentang Awards, which is $30,000 a year. So there are other scholarships available from the school, but they are few in number, so it's very competitive to obtain those scholarships. But it is something that we do offer. So, and we don't just look at who has the best GPA. For the big international scholarships, what the school is looking for is your kind of extracurriculars. What do you do to support your community, and those kind of things. So it's what you do outside the classroom as well as your GPA. That's what we look at when we're determining eligibility. So that's the scholarships. We also, moving on to the latter slides now, when students apply to our school, so when you're an applicant, we invite you to what's called the Lassonde community, where you're kind of amongst other applicants, and you're also connected to current students like Dennis, students like Valeria. So when you've applied, you've been admitted, and you're kind of, because students apply to more than one school generally. So, but while you're making your mind up about which school that you're going to choose, you can connect with us and you can learn more about our program, our schools. So I just want to share this screen. So if you do apply to our school, you will be invited to this community, and you can connect with Dennis, myself, Valeria, other students. You can DM us, you can talk in the community like this slide suggests, and we answer all questions very quickly. So that's something to bear in mind. So if you do apply to our school, we will invite you to join us. Optional, but we do recommend the students join so you can learn more about our school. We can't invite you to the Lassonde community until you've applied to our school. So from the point of application is when we would invite you to join our community. So that's the Lassonde community. And that's the end of my presentation, or our presentation. I will share my email address. So to contact our team, it's ask@lassondeschool.com. Thank you everybody for listening. Hope you found this session valuable. It's great that Dennis and Valeria were able to join, because they can share their real experience. I mean, you know, it's different listening to me talking about our school, but when you have a student who's talking about their experience, it adds a lot more value to what we're saying. And yeah, and do stay in contact with us. You have our email address. Feel free to email us at any point.
So I think instead what I'll say is when you start university, you know, just make sure to be excited. Regardless of what you decide to go into, if it's computer science, security, digital media engineering, or maybe none of that, just make sure to be excited. I know a lot of people are usually confused and they don't know what they want to go into, which is totally normal. I was like that. I still am like that. And I'm sure a lot of other people are too. So just make sure that whatever you go into, that you have an interest in it, that like you mentioned earlier, that there is a demand for it. But most importantly, that you like it, that you find it interesting. And then when you start university, just keep that passion with you, keep that interest with you. That'll take you really far in your courses, that'll take you really far in your co-op. And then once you graduate to in your full-time positions as well. And then it'll kind of keep you happy overall. And, you know, happy life is good. So just make sure to maintain that passion, keep that interest, and kind of you'll learn more about yourself as you go through university and as you get older and you try different things. So just be excited with this new experience. Yeah, that's my motivation. My Saturday motivation.
One of my tips or like motivation would be, if you are interested in something and you feel like it's difficult, or it's like something like math for me, like I didn't like it at all, and you feel like you're not gonna do it, you're not gonna do good at it, you still have to try, because as long as you like something, you'll succeed, you'll get through it, and you'll do your best. That's it. Thank you.
Well, sorry, since Valeria is talking about math, let me chime in real quick here. Yeah, like Valeria mentioned, I feel like a lot of people kind of think that they can't do something. It's like they were born and they just don't know how to do math, or they don't know how to do this or that. I feel like I mentioned earlier with the motivation, you need a lot of confidence in yourself. Even if you don't know something originally or at the start, you just need the confidence to know that you will eventually be able to learn it. If you put the time and the effort into it, you will be able to learn it. And I feel like that confidence can apply to math, it can apply to coding, and it can apply to anything in life, really. If you just have that confidence in yourself, that even though you don't know it now, you will be able to figure it out, that can apply for any math. And that happened to me too. I was not a big fan of math in high school. I didn't understand what was the point of it. It felt like they just made it up for no reason, just to torture us. And then I started university, and then turns out it actually has a lot of these different applications, and it's actually kind of cool. And so if you just have like I mentioned, the interest, but also have that confidence, and you just kind of keep on going and you don't give up, that'll help you do really well in all of your courses. And you'll realize that, oh, hey, wait a minute, I wasn't that good in math in high school, but now I'm in university and all of a sudden this math is actually pretty cool and I'm doing pretty well in it. So just having that kind of mindset for whichever courses you do or whatever program you do would be very helpful. And okay, that's all. No more math talk.